Hey everyone, welcome to Phoenix Tech. Today we're going to be checking out the YAS207 soundbar from Yamaha. Besides all the standard features you expect to find in a modern day soundbar, what makes the YAS207 special is that they've loaded it with this DTS Virtual X technology, and that's basically just virtualizing Dolby Atmos. Now, if you're not too sure what Dolby Atmos is, traditionally you've got stereo or surround sound, but Dolby Atmos goes one step further and there's actually sound coming from the ceiling, so it's kind of like one step better than surround sound. So things like helicopters going above or coming through waterfalls, it's really trying to make you immersed within the sound. So for these sorts of setups, you could either get ceiling speakers that sort of fire the sound down, or you can get like level speakers that fire the sound up and then come down, and then through the amp it kind of mixes all that to create these fully immersive Dolby Atmos scenes. So yeah, the YAS207 soundbar here is just virtualizing all that sound. You don't need to add additional speakers anywhere. I've actually seen some soundbars that on the top of the grill they've got speakers and those fire sound up and down, but this is just front-facing speakers that shoot forward, and through the software and all the sort of magic that Yamaha's put in there, they're claiming that they can virtualize this Dolby Atmos experience. So I've just got the specs here for the soundbar and what the speakers are. There's four 1 3/4 inch woofers with dual 1-inch tweeters, and the sub is a 6 1/4 inch subwoofer that's paired wirelessly to the main unit. Let's take a look at all the modes packed into this soundbar. So there's the stock standard stereo mode, which you can flick it into. Then you can go over to surround, and there's two different kinds of surround sound. There's the traditional surround sound, and then there's also the DTS Virtual X surround sound. And you can tell the difference between that because there's a green LED indicator and a blue LED indicator. The green is for surround and the blue is for the Virtual X. There's a clear voice option, which you can just flick on or off. There's no sort of parameters in that. And that's essentially just a treble boost to hear voices a little bit better. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there's a bass extension, which is essentially just a bass boost. There's no option there, it's just off or on again. You can control the subwoofer individually. There's a little plus and minus slider for all that stuff. Of course, there's a mute and volume controls there as well. And that's it for the features. So it's actually very simple to operate. You know, I've definitely seen hundreds of other sound units that have all these complicated EQs and stuff, and nobody ever uses them. Just give me the basic stuff, a bit of treble boost, a bit of bass boost. Let me control the sub, the volume. You're good to go. That's all you really need with these units. All right, let's check out the front of the soundbar and see what's going on here. So underneath this mesh, that's where all the front-facing speakers are. It's a very soft sort of material. Now the top of the unit is sort of this plasticky leather sort of feeling. It's not quite a slick plastic. It doesn't actually feel quite like leather. It's just sort of like a textured feeling. For the price point, it definitely is a nice little touch here. Over here on the front of the unit, we've got all the lights for the different modes. I really like that when you cycle through the volume, it uses the array of lights to kind of visually represent where your volume's at. There's also some capacitive touch buttons if you need to walk up to the unit, mute it, put the volume up or down. There's just some basic functions there physically on the unit. Now, if you're looking to mount this to the wall, this is what the mounting brackets look like. And over here, we've got the power connector. Now the back of the unit here is pretty simple. We've got two HDMI slots. One's for input, one's for output. The output also supports ARC, which is the audio return channel. There's also an analog audio output as well as an optical audio output. And lastly, there's a little USB slot there for updating the unit. And here we've got the sub. So on the front, pretty clean, pretty straightforward. As far as the sub goes with connection, you just literally turn it on and it pairs to the unit. There's no mucking around here. The back of the sub is also pretty clean. There's a standby light, a pairing light, also the wireless light. And here's the remote. Should be very simple operation. Up the top here, we've got all the different inputs, so HDMI, TV, analog or Bluetooth signals. Then we've got some toggles there for the surround sound or stereo sound. Underneath that, we've got the clear voice button and the bass extension button, so you can just toggle them off and on. There's no parameters involved with those. Bluetooth standby, and we've also got the dimmer there for dimming the lights on the front of the unit. Then we've got our subwoofer plus and minus, our mute button and our volume button. There's no actual apps here, so when you hook up the soundbar to the TV, some other soundbars have full-blown GUIs, with apps, some other stuff baked in. There's nothing going on here. There is a mobile app which you can stream Bluetooth audio to the unit, but that's about it as far as apps go. So recently I did a review of the Hookverse binaural headphones. I'll leave a link to that up here, but I'm going to use these to do some sound tests with the soundbar. We're going to listen to it in stereo mode, then surround mode, which is the default surround, and then we'll flick it into the Virtual X surround mode. I'll label each as I run through the tests here. I won't tell you my opinion now, I'll tell you afterwards, but see if you can hear the difference. I would also encourage you to put some headphones on because that's where you hear the binaural's full effect. So let's get into that now. So what did you think of those tests? Could you tell the difference between all three? We definitely could in the room. The stereo just sounded so flat. The normal surround sounded pretty good, but the Virtual X was a noticeable jump. Like I thought there might just be a little jump between the normal surround and the Virtual X, but it was super noticeable, so well done there. So this is actually my buddy's unit. I went over there, did the review of the soundbar. We had a couple hours to listen to everything. And I want to give you some sort of context before I go into my final thoughts here. I think the soundbars sort of fall into three categories for me. There's the sort of like sub $100 ones, which is just, you know, you've got some TV that has bad sound. You just need to get some sound going on there. Then for this next category, it's sort of the middle tier. And these would be like anywhere from $200 to $400. It's sort of like, you don't want anything too cheap, you want something a little bit better in quality, but you know it's not going to be the top end Bang & Olufsen or Bose sort of setups. That's the sort of next category. I would say that's like $400 plus. I've seen soundbars here in Australia go all the way up to $2,000 with these crazy setups. Some of them aren't even soundbars anymore, they've got all these additional features. Or, you know, sometimes you've even got these top-end soundbars that just look really nice, like the Bose units, the Bang & Olufsens, the Sonoses. They've got good sound, but they're a little bit more stylish. So Yamaha here are going for that middle market where it's sort of your bang for buck area, and that's typically where I shop. I'm not going to go too low on the spectrum because I don't want something that's bad quality. I don't have the budget to go too high end for most things. So I'm in the middle range. I'm always trying to do the research on something that's cheap, but is actually kind of quality. Now volume-wise, we're listening to this in a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment, and it was definitely ample for that setup, but we were listening to it on about 70 to 80%. If you had a bigger room, maybe the volume might be an issue, especially if you've got a bunch of mates around sort of watching the footy or something. You might need a little bit more headroom, so that's the only thing to consider when looking at this soundbar. So overall, after listening to this for a couple hours, I've got to say I'm really, really impressed. I would always leave it on that Virtual X sound. It seems to be the most encompassing. We watched some normal TV, we watched some movies, we listened to some music. It generally did a really good job upscaling the audio source to whatever it was fed. And you know, we tried a few things on the stereo, the surround. The normal surround's okay, but you might as well just go the whole hog with the Virtual X. Now, it's not going to replace a Dolby system. You know, to make that sort of claim is just crazy. It's pretty damn convincing. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good, but it's definitely not an Atmos replacement. But at the price point, putting it in the right kind of room, it may be a really good solution for you. So I just checked out the prices for the 207, and it's going here in Australia anywhere from like mid 300s to $399 seems to be about the retail, and in the States it's $299 at the moment. I think this is already discounted. It's been out for like 6 to 12 months already. It was a little bit more expensive before. It's already dropped a little bit in price. If you can find this a little bit cheaper than what it's going around for now, or maybe you see this video in 6 months from now and you're sort of stumbling onto this model, it's such a good model. I mean, price aside, if this thing was underneath the TV, I'd be super happy with the sound. Yeah, it's not not like, you know, crazy top end sound, but does a really good job, holds its own. Very well done to Yamaha on this one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. This is Phoenix Tech. Smash that like and subscribe button and we'll catch you on the next one.